I wasn't thinking that when I was writing it. Like the song, basic, like all my songs, they write themselves. So I'm like, oh shit, this is a song for my uncle. Like, damn, all right, this is what it's gonna be. That song came to me. Like, I feel like I was channeling something.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Soul Serum podcast. I am your riding around in the Yukon XL with my cousins, host Clay Bonine. I am usually joined by my she just want to come and kick it, but it's hard for me to chill co-host Tanner Mavis. However, Tanner's out of town right now with his girlfriend in New Orleans on vacation. Oh, I hope you guys are having a good time, but I also hope you're listening to the podcast. But we are back on the Soul Serum podcast with another interview episode today. And before we introduce our guest, I want to remind everybody, follow us on Instagram, main page, and the podcast page. Subscribe to us on YouTube, main page, TV page. Follow us on TikTok as well. The kids are talking about my takes on the SoundCloud rapper tournament. So I actually have recently, like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but like I've been reading the comments on what people are saying about me on TikTok. And dude, some people are like mean as hell in the comments. They're like, I like this podcast, but that dude in the blue needs to get the fuck out of the studio. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, whatever. That's all besides the point. Also, join the Discord. And that's enough on that because I want to go ahead and introduce our guest. Today on the show, we have one of the first local artists that I discovered after I moved up to the Cincinnati area. He makes music, great music for you to chill and spark one up to. And he is the first Spanish-speaking artist or person in general that we've had on the podcast. Today in the studio joining us, we have Isai Morales. Thank you, my friend, for coming on. Can we get a clap from the studio audience over here? Yeah.
I appreciate you having me.
Welcome
man.
to the podcast, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to write a whole Spanish intro, and then I was like, maybe I might be reaching if I do that.
We always appreciate the effort.
Yeah,
you know?
I do. I mean, I can say like bienvenido. I guess is it Al Soul Serum podcast?
That's perfect
Would that
right
be
there.
it?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I know how to speak enough Spanish just from like working at restaurants. So like I know how to ask for like a side of black beans. I also know a bunch of words for like male genitalia. That's like what I've learned like working with like the restaurant staff, like the kitchen workers. But before we get into music, before we get into anything here, how many people mispronounce your name? Like when they first see it, if you don't tell them that.
Surprisingly, you were the first to not do it in like a very long time.
Let's go.
Almost every single time, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like, unless you speak Spanish or like know, I guess like Spanish pronunciations, like Isai is definitely not what you would see. Like, I feel like that's a lot of like sound for just like 4 letters almost, you know, like nobody is gonna expect that.
It's like 4 syllables for four letter. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
You say like every letter in your name. Well, let's just start at the beginning here. I know you've been making music for a long time now at this point, but can you give us like the origin story? Where and how did the music start for you?
I was in my bedroom in high school, is where it started, probably around 14, 15, I would say. And then it kind of just, I started doing shows at 18 when I was like able to start performing in clubs and stuff where
Right.
with a fake, actually I shouldn't say, I shouldn't say I was in there with a fake ID, but we
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, you may have been in there with a fake ID.
Technically, I was 26, but I was performing. But
Wait, when you were 18, you had a fake ID that said you were 26?
yeah, I did.
Did people question it? Was anybody ever?
No, it was my cousin, and we look almost exactly the same, so it worked perfectly.
Okay, I see. How long ago? So that was when you were 18. How old are you now?
I'm 10. That's 10 years ago. I'm 28 now, so I'm a little bit older than most of the people that you probably have on here.
We've actually had like a lot of over 25-year-old people on this show. I think Corbett was probably the oldest person we had on this show. I think he's like about to turn 40. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good. You're performing in the clubs. Like, are you in Dayton at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dayton. I was going to school in Dayton, so I was like performing everywhere that I could in Dayton, and then also bouncing around Cincinnati and Dayton, like from 18 to up until now. Like most of those relationships that I have with like venues and stuff were built around the 18 to 23 age.
Nice.
And then from there, like basically the music evolved. I started finding my sound around actually not until probably 2015, 16. And that's when I started like dabbling in production and started producing everything myself
Yeah.
and like actually feeling comfortable. I always produced everything, kind of like dabbled in it, but actually really started to get into it around 2016, 17.
Nice. And I noticed like you've taken down some of your like older projects. Is that like is there a specific reason behind it? Do you just think that your stuff now is like of higher quality, or what's kind of the motive behind that?
Well, at first it was kind of like I wasn't really, I don't know why. I just didn't like what I had up. And then I'm like, man, but as of, let me retrace my steps
Yeah,
because
go
like
ahead.
there was a little incident with some copyright claims, like with samples in a song that I couldn't clear.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pulled everything down. And then I gradually started bringing stuff back up. And then I'm like, actually, this doesn't really sound as good as this is kind of trash, to be honest. Let me keep this down. And then but as of recently, like I started talking to people and they were like, it's important to show growth in your work.
Definitely.
And I've been gradually bringing back some of the older stuff that I'm like, okay, maybe it would be good for people to hear this because they can like compare the newer stuff to the older stuff and kind of get an idea of the growth, basically.
Definitely. And that's something that people, like, if they've been listening to you for 4 or 5 years or whatever, like, they've already built the memory with, like, that older stuff. So it's cool to, like, have them to be able to go back, listen to that, and then listen to the newer stuff. I do want to talk a little bit before we get deep into the music. We've had a couple of guests on the show who have had non-American parents, immigrant, foreign parents, however you'd like to put it. And I'm always really interested in hearing how being raised by immigrant parents like affected the process and mentality of whatever artists we're talking to. So Mexican and Panamanian,
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
right?
sir.
Can you talk a little bit on what it was like growing up in a household with that culture and like how your parents, view your music journey, I'd say?
Well, as far as like, I always had a strong relationship with my dad's family, even though he wasn't really in the picture very much. But with my mom, she's Panamanian, and like growing up, I would be in folkloric dance groups, doing the Panamanian dances and everything,
That's so
which
fire.
it was kind of fun, but kind of embarrassing at the same time. Because like looking back on it, there's hella pictures and videos of me somewhere in the.
And like a full like get up, full outfit and everything.
Yeah,
hitting Panamanian jigs.
most definitely. Like the Montuno is what it was called. I still have it actually, but it's like super small, like it's children's size.
Right.
But growing up with that, like my mom's also a salsa singer, so like I was
okay.
always around like music, like salsa music,
Nice.
merengue, like all that, basically everything associated with Hispanic music. And then also being like Mexican too, like my mom would, try to keep me up to date, up to par with the Mexican side as well. So I
Yeah.
was listening to like Selena and Los Bukis and like stuff
Yes.
like that as well. So it's kind of
Shout out Selena, man. I saw the Selena movie like where J-Lo plays her in like middle school and was just like, it's like, this is different, bro. Like, I love this movie. What is going on here?
it's a classic.
That is a crazy story. As a side note, like what happened to her and like how she died, that is like fucking insane.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it happened. But yeah, keep going. So your mom would also keep you kind of like in the Mexican side of your culture as well too. growing up.
Most definitely. So I was like always indulged in it, like, but it wasn't like I was thinking like, oh, this is my culture. I was just like, okay, I gotta do this at the time. But now looking back, I'm like, okay, that was actually really cool that she was trying to keep me
Yeah.
in tune with everything, even though I'm growing up here.
As a kid, like you don't realize like the significance and importance of that. You're just like, why the fuck do I have to go dance on Saturday morning? Like, you know, you're just like, what the fuck is this, man?
Exactly.
That's cool though. So your mom being a salsa singer, like, has she always been like supportive of you like choosing to pursue music?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like as much as she could help, she's definitely been on board for it. Like she doesn't always necessarily agree with like some of the earlier stuff that I was talking about in my music, you know, when I was rapping about bitches and cars in high school that I didn't have, you know, but of course, what mom is going to support that?
Yeah, exactly.
But now that I'm like starting to speak on subjects that are like about my childhood and like are more, you know, more in
A little sentimental.
yeah,
more
most
personal.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
she can stand behind it now. Like she has a vinyl of the album and everything, so it's kind
I
of.
think that's. I want to get into that later, but I think that's so fire that you made a vinyl for your last album. Just talking a little bit more on this. I talked to you a little bit before the podcast, but one thing I really love about your music and your overall like imagery as an artist is that you don't shy away from your heritage. I mean, you're in a luchador mask right now. Like, look, you have the logo. I saw the back of the hoodies, like a Modelo graphic. I mean, you're shooting videos in like Mexican grocery stores and Mexican restaurants. Like, we're not. I want to let the record show. We're not talking about like Rio Grande. We're talking about like the taco spot that has like the soda machine from the '90s. Like, you're really shooting in these authentic places. So, will you just talk to me a little bit like about why it's so important for you to highlight your culture like that in your music?
Basically, I feel like well, there's not really many artists like me, especially in the Midwest, that are like with Latin roots. So I kind of want to make it a point to like document the experience of what it's like to basically come up in Ohio as a, you know, a Latino kind of deal.
Yeah.
But also like all those places that you see in the video are all places I went to as like a kid, and like I have relationships with the business owners and stuff.
That's so cool.
So I try to like while staying true to my culture, but also staying true to like Dayton, Ohio at the same time, because like all the Mexicans that see those videos are gonna recognize those places in Dayton, Ohio, which is like kind of cool. So I always like, I don't. What was the question again?
Well, I was just asking why it's so important for you to highlight your culture, because I think you touched on it a little bit. Of what I think is really cool about it is that like in, you know, Los Angeles, San Diego, more Western places, and I'm sure in Texas too, with like these larger Hispanic populations in the cities. Like I'm sure there's a lot of Latino artists out there, but in Ohio, like other than you, I mean, maybe I'm just not tapped in, but like I have not seen many other like Latino artists, especially people who are like outwardly projecting their heritage too.
Oh yeah, most like I also just want to like paint a narrative that's kind of different than the norm that you get from other Latino artists in general, because like most Latino artists, you know, they're gonna make like the music that is pop and dancey, or they're gonna be like the rappers, you know, that I mean nothing. I don't want to say one rapper in particular comes to mind that's put a bad name for Mexicans right now, who has like rainbow hair and you know like that's not. I'm the
colorful hair. He has a number tattooed on him a lot of times.
Yeah,
we don't gotta say names.
We don't gotta say the name. But I want to paint a narrative that's not that, you know what I'm saying? So.
Right. No, I mean, I think it's great, like that you do this, like, because one thing that's really important, I would say, that's been happening in the last like 10 years, not just in music, but just in like, I guess, American culture as well. It's just like representation and diversity. Like we're obviously a long way away from like where it should be, but more people, I think, are getting more spotlights on their culture. So I just love that you do that. I think it's really important that you are like this proud in your heritage and putting it in your music like that, you know. I do want you though to, I did a little bit of research, but will you explain the title of your latest project for our non-Spanish speakers in the audience here?
Oh, it's titled El Locote, which is basically just like El Loco And if for people that have followed me like from the beginning, they know like my old name because I had a other name before I started going by my real name.
Yeah.
And like Loco has, I mean,
It's on your chest.
It's
right
on my
now.
chest. Like
Yeah.
I changed it from a C to a K just to like make it stand out a little bit more. And basically, it's just something it literally translates to crazy, like the crazy one kind of deal. And the title is basically just because like compared to most Mexicans that are I would say Mexicans just because
You are.
I'm mainly Mexican, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I have the Panamanian in there too, but most Mexicans they stick to a very like the lifestyle. You go to work, you pay your bills, you take care of your family, and like somebody trying to pursue something that's a little bit different, like trying to do music, is unheard of, especially when it comes to like personally my family and stuff. So it's kind of like I'm the crazy one in the family. So El Loco has always been my my tagline, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
And then El Locote was basically just summarizing that. And since the album was basically focused on like family experiences and coming up as a Mexican in Ohio, I just wanted to keep it true to that.
That's great. That's when you I don't know if you've ever Googled the words El Locote, but like there's one definition that keeps coming up, and it's like a crazed, deranged gangbanger. And I was like, I actually don't think that's probably not what he was going for.
Not at all. Not at all.
Talking a little bit more about the music though. I have a question regarding a lyric in Pancho. Did your grandmother really take a bullet to the leg?
Yeah, she did.
Dead ass?
Yeah,
Really? Okay,
yeah.
will you say the lyric and then will you tell me the story for anybody who may not know?
I'll tell the story, but now I'm just gotta retrace the lyrics.
Yeah, you gotta think about the song.
Yeah, I'm like, cause like where do I say that like closer to the end when I'm actually talking about this story?
Yeah. I could play the song if you want me to.
Man, I might have to. Cause,
I know this is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Cause like I know the song by heart. I have to like.
You got to hear the
whole
melody
thing,
though. Yeah. Let's see.
Cause retracing the steps is the key.
I remember when they tried to take his life. I believed I paid the price. Got a shell in the leg to this day from the night. Made it out even though he
What
got
happened?
it.
Why did your grandma take a bullet to the leg?
That song is basically about my uncle, and like the whole story of his whole being here and everything. Like he was involved in some stuff he shouldn't have been involved in, obviously. And then people came into the house for I don't know what I was a little kid, so I don't really know what any of like he was great at hiding it for the most part, but like I was a little kid, I didn't really understand at the time.
Right.
And she ended up taking a bullet, and she was cool now, but she's one of the most gangster grandmothers like ever. Like she's super chill about like if you ask her about it, she'll tell you the story, but yeah, that all actually happened. That song is basically just like the story of how it all went down. And basically my uncle stopped for a while and like was doing a legit job working at my other uncle's restaurant, like in the kitchen and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like one day he basically was driving home from work after getting off working like the legitimate job. Like this is years after he was involved in whatever he was involved in. And then they got him on a busted taillight and deported him. And I don't know what he was involved in Mexico, but we didn't hear or see him after that. Yeah.
Wow. Fuck, man. I'm sorry to hear that. It's always the fucking busted taillight, bro.
It's the busted taillight.
That's how they fucking get you, bro.
Most definitely, man. And just
this is kind of the reason why I brought up that lyric was it just like stuck out to me, and I was like, does grandma really get shot in the leg? But that song, I think you said it a little bit. I mean, like it's a great embodiment kind of that project where you're talking about your family, and I'm also like, for me personally, I kind of get a little bit of like a redemption and kind of celebration, like of, you know, your life and your family's life and the come up, you know, being in Dayton, Ohio. So what is that like for you to be able to express that through your music, you know? Because that's got to be pretty special to be able to talk about that.
Well, my thought process with that song in particular, it was like just immortalizing my uncle and his story. So that was what I was going for with that song. But when I was actually creating it, it kind of just came to me. Like I wasn't thinking that when I was writing it. Like the song like all my songs they write themselves. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is a song from my uncle. Like, damn, all right, this is what it's gonna be. That song came to me. Like I feel like I was channeling something,
Sometimes, it's fun. I like that you said that. There's a great oh god, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. I can't remember what the interview is. There's an interview with this music journalist. Her name is Lisa Robertson. I think Rick Rubin does the interview, but she says there's one common thread in all musical artists across all genres, and sometimes like the songs, they're just like, I don't know where it came from. It just popped up in my head, like, and I just wrote it. Is that so? That's kind of how that song
exactly
worked?
how that song happened.
You
Like,
just like started writing, and then you were like, wait a fucking second.
and
Like,
it came out so quick too. Like it's probably one of the quickest songs I've written, and I have pretty fast. I write fast, but like not as fast. Like no edits, no anything. Like I go back and
Wow.
rearrange the lyric. Like no, this is it. I'm gonna record it now. Let's do it, and it just popped out like that.
That's amazing, man. That's powerful. I didn't know that there was that much significance behind that song. That's crazy though. Talking a little bit more about the album, or really albums in general. I think so. When I first discovered your music, what really stuck out to me about your projects was that you have this great ability to create like an atmosphere on there. On Tortillas, it feels like I'm like in the room with you hitting a blunt. And then also shout out to former podcast guest Brick for the intro on that. Good vibrations
Shout
from
out,
Brick
Brick.
on that. And then El Locote to me, like I said just now, feels kind of like an ode to remembering where you came from and celebrate where you're going. But still, nonetheless, like you have created these great atmospheres when you're like listening to the projects as a whole. Is that something that you are purposefully aware of when you're creating the project, or does it just happen as like a natural byproduct?
It's a natural byproduct, like for the most part. But I've noticed that it does happen, and like with like my production projects, like I've been dabbling in producing for other artists as well.
Yeah.
And I did like a little mix on SoundCloud called 808s for the Interstate, and with going into that, I was like, all right, I gotta create something that like the 808s for the Interstate. This
Yeah,
is gonna
yeah.
be something you're gonna be bumping in the car.
It's for the late night drive type
Exactly.
vibe. Yes. Yeah.
So I
definitely.
do go into like I approach other projects like that now that I've realized I do that in other ones. But when I'm working on my own stuff, it's never intentional. Like it just turns out to be the way it turns out.
That's cool. I think that's something like that helps people kind of like latch on to like not just your music, but artists' music in general. Like when they can create that atmosphere, it almost like gives the song like a texture. You know what I mean? Or gives the project a texture. It makes it feel a little bit more real. Do you feel that sometimes?
Most definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I like to keep everything real for the most. Like if it's not coming from a real place, like people aren't really gonna feel it. Like
Yeah. And it's like the more that I've like listened to music and almost like kind of like trained my ear to listen to stuff, like you can tell when it's authentic and you can tell when somebody's just like saying something to say something. And I think that's something that is like common throughout your music, is that it definitely comes from like a personal, real place. So that's important for you, I guess, right?
most
To do
definitely.
that.
That's like the main point for real.
Yeah. You no more cars and bad bitches.
Nah.
Raps.
I mean, sometimes if a beautiful woman, inspires
Right.
some jams, those will still happen. But no big until I get a Rolls Royce or something. I'm not rapping about Rolls Royces.
No. I mean, that's got to be where like everybody starts though, right? Because like that's what everybody likes. I mean, like in my short stint as a quarantine producer, all the stuff that I was rapping about was like cars and bitches and drugs and shit because it's like that's like the cool thing. It's like just like the coolest thing to rap about, but it's like not me though.
Yeah.
Like I drive a Honda Accord. You know what I'm saying? Like
shout out
like,
to
it's
Honda.
Not me. Hey, Honda. I'd do a great ad read for you, bro. Fucking me, John, and Tanner all drive a fucking Honda Accord, bro. Honda, come holler at us.
Hell yeah.
But if another car company wants to pay me a bag, I'll read for that too. Another thing that I get a lot from your music and even in your videos is I think simplicity is a common theme in a lot of this. Are you like aware of that? Are you trying to always not overdo or overthink your art?
Yeah, I've done the overthinking thing in the past, and it never works out. Like a lot of like everything that I do happens naturally, and like if I want to keep, I like to keep things simple, just in general. Like it doesn't have to be overcomplicated from the production all the way up to like the videos. Like, why are we gonna overthink the video? We don't have to do that. We can capture it the way it's meant to be captured. We're gonna keep it realistic.
Yes,
you know, like I'm all about keeping things just natural, like real for the most part. And
do you this is like kind of related, kind of not related, but like for me, so I don't really like any like Marvel like kind of Avengers superhero movie because to me it's like not based in realness. Like it looks amazing, but like I don't believe that Ant-Man like shrank down. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel that too? Do you kind of get that same vibe with like other music or art too?
Yeah, I definitely do. I do kind of like. Well, growing up, I liked the Marvel movies, but now that I think about it, I like every time I watch that kind of stuff, I'm always thinking in my head like, how did they make that? Like, it doesn't appeal to me as much as it used to when I was a kid. Because like in my head, I'm just like, all right, they created this, but they use a green screen. This is like. I respect it more when it is from a real place. Like if I'm watching things like I like documentaries or movies that are based on real things, or I like action movies too. But if they're realistic,
yeah, I think there is a way to like do this like grand, crazy action movie, but still have it be grounded in realness. But I mean, I'm just glad to hear that you kind of share that same thought process because it bleeds over into music too. Like. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but sometimes you'll hear like a project from an artist after they've got signed to like some crazy deal. And maybe it's not the first project, but the second project they released on the label, you hear it and you're like, this was fueled by like label money, like the labels are telling them to do this and that, like, and it doesn't feel real anymore. It doesn't feel grounded anymore.
It's like not authentic anymore.
Yeah. And authenticity, I think, in this like age of social media is like more important than ever. Like it's cool to see people who you can tell like are not doing it just for like followers or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? And you've been doing it like for a long time. You've been making music since before people were like counting followers up for real. like so you were true to this game. Is that something that ever like plays in the back of your mind, or something that you think about, like that you've been making music for this long?
It comes to mind sometimes, but I always forget and have to remind myself at the same time because like these past few years, it's kind of been like a restart, like basically restarting a business.
Yeah.
Because like I had a business and it was growing on its own with my past endeavor, and then when everything happened with the copyright stuff, like I had to restart again. Yeah. And I gotta always remind myself, like, yeah, I've been doing this a long time, but it's still only year 3. Right. And like I get discouraged sometimes, but then I always have to like go back and I'm like, all right, I've been through it took me like 5 years just to get noticed with the last projects and everything. Now I'm only on year 3. I still got some time to go. I still got work to do. Like this is just the beginning right now. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Was the copyright issue, it sounds to me like maybe a blessing in disguise. Like I'm sure it like hurt you.
It definitely was.
I'm sure it hurt you to like have this art that you've made just for like lawyers to be like, no, sorry, you can't have that art anymore. Like, but then you get to kind of experience like a rebirth and a rebrand almost. How has that been?
It was definitely a blessing in disguise because like before the copyright claims were on beats that I didn't produce. They were like beats that I've got from other producers, but there were samples in them and they weren't cleared or anything. And I didn't know what I was doing because I was like young and not really, I'm just putting this song out because the producer gave it to me and he said, do whatever I want with it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm going to put it out.
And also, like, a couple years ago, SoundCloud is, like, so lawless so that you can just, like, put beats with, like, the most, like, egregious samples in it that, like, are just, like, would never get passed. But, like, you can put it on SoundCloud because it's free like that.
Yeah, shout out SoundCloud for real.
Shout out. Shout out SoundCloud. But yeah, keep talking on that though about
as the rebrand.
Yeah.
But like that basically just pushed me to start producing like 100%, or at least have my hand in all of the production that I do. So like my collaborations on the production, like we're in the same room making the beat together. Like I'm making sure I know exactly where every sample's coming from, and I know that we're not gonna get, have something happen to the point where we can't release anything, and just basically gives me the chance to like learn a lot more also, just because I've been teaching myself. I've been reading a lot of books on the industry and stuff, and how to like basically grow your career without like keeping it settled, but also just doing it yourself without the need for like if a label does want to hit me, we can discuss some options and whatnot. But right now I'm just prepared to do it all myself with the people that I have around me right now.
That's one of the beauties of this age of technology and age of information. Well, like while there is a lot of disinformation out there, like now, like you can be an artist who like does it all themselves, but if in fucking like 1992, bro, if you didn't have a label or know somebody at the radio station or something, like you basically were just making music as a hobby, you know? But it's so cool now that like artists can like see, like the curtain can be pulled back and you can like know all these secrets and everything now. So you would be interested though if a label
hit me up, most definitely. Like I'm not gonna turn down any. Well, it depends with the situations like, but I'm always open to anything really, anything that could help boost or help, push me in the right direction to where I'm trying to do.
For sure. One thing, this is kind of the last music question, then I have some like random questions for you, but I read in like your interview with the Underground Underdogs from a long time ago.
Shout out Audrey.
Shout out Audrey. You talked about listening deep into like some of like the hip hop pioneers' discographies, and I feel like this is something that not nearly enough younger artists do. I'm not trying to sit here on like a pedestal or a high horse or anything. I'm not saying that if like a 15-year-old who's listening to this, who's about to start rapping, I'm not saying you have to go listen to every DJ Clue mixtape. Like, you don't have to. But it is, like, I think it's important to, like, know the history or know the foundation of why you're even able to, like, make this music. So, like, why did you go and, like, seek that out? Like, why is that? And also, like, how did it help and influence you as an artist?
See, the thing with me, like listening to, discographies of like Jay-Z and like everyone, like that was happening while it was coming. Like I was 7 years old walking around with a CD player and like a case of CDs, and you'll have like Hard Knock Life Volume 2 and you'll have like DJ Clue, The Professional Volume 1 and 2. All in the case, just like that was something that came natural to me just because I was like infatuated with music as a child, and like I didn't know I wanted to be involved in music until like 14, 15, but it all started to click and make sense after the fact, looking back.
The seeds were planted really early, it sounds
very
like.
much so.
Yeah.
And like basically just by listening to those discographies, I could kind of like, when I was a kid, like Rockefeller Records was like, oh shit, I want to be like them when I grow up, but not just off. Like I didn't know how to write rhymes or write raps or anything, but I was just in my head, I'm like, that shit would be fucking dope if I could be like that, But it basically all happened organically. Like it wasn't anything where I went. Well, I did seek out like certain artists that I wasn't hip to, like Big L after the fact when I was in high school, like Big L, J Dilla. Like I started diving into their catalogs and stuff after the fact because I was just a kid when they were still making music. But Jay-Z and like Cash Money Millionaires and Master P and everybody, like that was there in front of me. Also, shout out to Katie at Omega Music when I was 7 years old. Damn. She was the one selling me all those CDs. Well, my grandma at the time, but my grandma took me to the store and good report card, get you the CDs and everything. But
so fire.
It all happened just organically for the most part.
Well, how did that influence you as an artist? Kind of when you start, I guess, more in like high school, when you're going back and listening to Big L and Jay Dilla, like what did that do for you and in the music that you were making, or that you began to make, that is?
Well, in high school, when I was in the Dilla phase, I got an MPC. That's where I started, making beats in my bedroom. And for Christmas, my mom's boyfriend at the time got me an MPC because he's also the guy that was responsible for getting me hip to a lot of the people he got me hip to. Like, he got me hip to MF Doom, all that, like Dilla, Donuts, the album.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one who bought me those albums and everything. So it was kind of like everything tying together. Got my FL Studio going in my bedroom, trying to chop samples, which if anybody that knows how to work at MPC, they can tell you, like, it's a bitch to learn, like, actually get it maneuvering, and especially when you're, like, in high school and not really, aware of music at all.
Yeah. I've recently on my the TikTok overlords, I've been getting like a lot of like producer TikToks, and it's like people just like picking random records and like sampling it on like the MPC right there. And I'm just like amazed by it. I'm amazed because it's like okay, I can hear something dope in a record from like the 70s, that like a little loop that I think is cool, but like I don't like, for people to be able to hear like the underlying like little drum break or like a little bass line or something and be able to chop that up, I think is like an entire form of artistry that is like not talked about enough.
Not
it's
enough,
crazy.
man.
Because I remember there used to be a lot of like flack against Kanye where people are like, his whole album is samples and da-da-da-da-da. But it like that's like the beauty of this music, is that like you get to create something out of something that we already love and appreciate. It's like almost a way to like help, like reintroduce it to people. I've discovered an insane amount of beautiful music just from being like, what's this sample, and just like going and listening to it. That is, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think sampling, like the artistry of sampling is like not talked about
and enough. That's like what hip hop was based off of in the beginning. Was like the foundation is basically sampling other people's music and just MCing on top of it when people are at parties.
I mean, Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight, like the quote unquote, I mean, it's obviously not the first hip hop record, but the first one that like kind of like blew up and went mainstream. Like that entire beat is a sample, like that boom, boom, boom. It's like Good Times by I think it's Chic is the band, but like you're right though. That's what it was all built on, and I think hip hop is doing this weird thing right now where like I'm seeing the cycle starting to like come back around. I think people are starting to like kind of appreciate that older like style of beat making rather than like hopping in GarageBand and like putting all the hi-hats and the kicks on and everything. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think I'm seeing like a lot of people gain an interest in doing it like in a more like hands-on way though. I think it's cool. That's enough about the music. I have a really important question to ask you though. Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio?
Bro, you're about to put both my heroes against each other? Oh, man. Eddie Guerrero, just because rest his soul.
In peace,
man.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. I actually have him on the back of my shirt.
Do you have an Eddie Guerrero?
I do. I have shout out Puck for this shirt, but I actually probably should.
Yeah, you might want to take those headphones off. Yeah, go for it.
Got him on the back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he does. Yo, he really does have Eddie Guerrero on the back. Damn, I wish that was planned. That was not planned. That's fire as fuck, though.
Shout out Puck and Off the Rope, for real.
Yeah, Off the Rope is fire. Shout out Off the Rope. I love all the stuff that they make. Do you remember the match that they played for like the custody of Dominic? I think it was Eddie and Rey Mysterio, and they were playing for the custody of Dominic.
I actually don't remember.
Dude, I have like a very vivid memory of like watching it as a kid. I forget like the entire like
the storyline,
but I remember they have like a ladder match for the custody of a child. WWE used to be wild, bro.
It did.
That like late 90s, early 2000s era of the WWE is insane.
Those were like the prime time when I was a kid. The only times that I would actually watch it, like after that, like after Eddie died, like I really slowed down on watching like SmackDown and Raw and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it started to decline. I honestly don't know if it's good right now or not. Maybe if anybody listens or watches WWE, let us know if it's still good or not. I have no idea. What is the best flavor of Yaritos?
Oh man, they're all delicious.
Because I have an opinion, but I'm curious what you're gonna say.
My favorite would have to be between the grapefruit and the grapefruit.
Damn, I actually don't think I've had the grapefruit. That's crazy.
It's called toronja.
Is it like ruby grapefruit or is it like white grapefruit? Like is it like the red or the white?
It's the white.
Okay.
Okay. It kind of tastes. Have you ever had squirt?
Yes. Yeah.
It kind of tastes like squirt.
Okay. Gotcha. I like the pineapple flavor.
Oh, pineapple's a classic
Pineapple's
though.
Fire.
Pineapple,
So
mango. You know, the only one I don't like is the clear one, which is like the mineral water.
Yeah, the Mineragua. That's Chris's fucking jam right there. He loves the Mineragua. I love that it's in like the same like branding and font as Yaritos though.
Yeah.
I didn't know me and Chris went to Jungle Gyms not that long ago, and like honestly did not know that there were that many flavors until you go to the drink section and like a third of it is like Yaritos flavors. I'm like, holy fucking hell, I had no idea. Sell 2 liters of it too?
Yeah, the 2 liters.
Idea.
When you come across those, that's rare because you can get the whole bottle.
Very rare.
And they're like $1.99 for the 2 liter. You might as well stock up on those.
All right, I have one more Hispanic Latino related question. If I were to go to one of these taco spots we talked about earlier, with like the handwritten menu, like the big red button is like, is like faded from people using it so much. What is like a good like if like food item that I should get there?
Al Pastor tacos. If you're not a pork person,
no, I love Al Pastor. I'm with it.
Al Pastor is definitely. If you're not a pork person, go with the carne asada tacos.
Yeah. I guess so. All you need little onion, little cilantro,
little hot sauce, little medium sauce, you know, and an horchata on the side. You know, that's all you need right there.
Oh, I love that. That was a great answer. That might have been my favorite question I've ever asked on this show. Actually,
I mean,
I'm
usually,
flex real quick.
Like with the Mexican restaurants, I always base them off the tortillas and the horchata. Like the quality, it has to be like.
That's a good point. You gotta base it off the tortillas, because if it's not a good tortilla, it doesn't matter what you put in it. I think we're doing pretty good on our time here. Is there anything else that you want to speak on that we haven't spoken about yet?
Nothing that I can comes to the top of my head at the moment, but
Well, I'll close it with this. What's next for Isai?
Right now, working on a couple of things. I'm working on a production project with some of my homies,
Cool.
Bad Jeans. You should check them out. They're from Dayton, Ohio as well.
Okay.
Just working with them on stuff just for the next few months. And then I'm also just recording as I go. Hopefully by the end of 2021, I'll have enough songs put together where I can just make that atmosphere right and, bring it all together at the end of the year like I usually do and put something out.
Fuck, man. Well, I'm really excited. I will definitely be listening to it for sure. And I want to remind everybody, as always, to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, the main page and the TV page, follow us on TikTok, join the Discord, go stream all of Isai's music. Wait. I'm sorry. I wanted to ask you about this. I forgot. How did you get the vinyl for El Locote? Like, I don't see many independent artists like doing vinyls, because I feel like that's like a a hard thing to like reach out and get to. Where did you get the vinyls made?
I'm not gonna. It took a lot of research.
Yeah.
There's a couple companies that do drop shipping for strictly media. So like CDs, DVDs, vinyl. There's only a couple that do vinyls. I found somebody that does vinyl. It's expensive as fuck if you want to like get a bunch at the same time. So it's easier just to drop ship it and charge like a flat rate.
Yeah.
This is actually a great tip for any artist that's like coming up on their own trying to get vinyls. They basically charge you for the cost of the vinyl, but if you set your price like a little bit higher, it's still expensive, but it's cool to do.
The thing about vinyl is like people who are into vinyl are gonna buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like the supply and demand of vinyl is, it's not like are people who like vinyl gonna buy this? Like people who have vinyl collections will like buy it even if it's kind of expensive. Although my homie Ian, like him and all his roommates, they have like 400 like vinyls or something. They always tell me, they're like, if you get a hip hop record on vinyl, like you can keep it here, take it back whenever you want. I was gonna get Whole Lotta Red, the new Cardi album, on vinyl. Those motherfuckers were charging $45. I was like, God damn it, I could not pay $45 for this vinyl because they're busting my head and they know that they're busting my head. That's why I felt a little insulted by it, because they know that people are gonna overpay for it. If it was like $30, I probably would have done it. But $45, I was like, damn, and I'm gonna have to pay like $12 for shipping. Like,
are they making them themselves, or are they actually getting the real legit copy?
I don't know. I assume that they probably are just gonna like send it out to like some random like vinyl pressing place, and then they would send it. I just don't. I mean, like maybe I'm just being a cheapskate. I don't know. I just felt like maybe I would pay $45 for like somebody's vinyl that like I know, but like I was like, damn, Cardi, like come on, bro. Like I just wanted a vinyl, bro.
It's expensive, man.
Yeah. They're I respect it though. I respect it. I think it's cool. I actually really think it's cool that vinyl is like coming back into like the music listening kind of atmosphere. But anywho, before we got off on that tangent, like I said, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Go stream all of Isai's music. And with that being said, I, as always, am your host, Clay Bonin.
Isai Morales.
And we will see you all next week. Deuces, everybody.